I think we are live. Hey, how is it going? Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, January 19th. Moving right along. And how are things going with your New Year's resolution fitness journey? If you have so started a New Year's resolution fitness journey, let me know in the comments there. And we can certainly talk about it because this is the time of year when a lot of people jump on the bandwagon and want to make a transformation and get in their best shape moving forward in 2024 in the new year. All right, let's see who we have joining in with us this evening. We have JP Lackland. Yo, hey JP, how's it going? We have Andy is joining in. How are you doing? We have Lee joining in, and Lee's letting me know it is coming through loud and clear. Appreciate it. We've got AJ joining in. That's great. Glad to have you. We have Bruce joining in live. Welcome, Bruce. And we have Darian, I think it is, from the Philippines. Welcome. Bruce saying it's coming through loud and clear. Thank you much. We got Richard joining in from Iowa. Welcome, Richard. Glad to have you joining in as well. Excellent. All right. So it seems to be coming through loud and clear. People popping onto our live stream. Excellent. All right, so we are streaming from the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel as well as the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page. So wherever you happen to be tuning in from, welcome. Good stuff. So I've got a lot of people jumping onto our live stream today, which is great. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, so this week has been a busy week in the world of Total Fitness Bodybuilding over on our Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. We've been running the Lose Your Gut Challenge and had a great turnout. A lot of people participated. And again, it was a bit of a different challenge this time around. Did some things a little different than we normally do when we run these challenges. But I got to say, I'm very pleased with the turnout. A lot of great feedback, and got some people now who are really ready to take action moving forward to reach their fitness and fat loss goals. So we kind of laid that foundation with the Lose Your Gut Challenge. And now we're really going to focus on taking things to the next level. So we can certainly discuss that. Like, I see a lot of familiar faces. People who've been following along during the Lose Your Gut Challenge are also here following along this evening with our video chat, which is great to see. All right, so we've been having a lot of conversations throughout the past week, and we're going to keep that conversation going here tonight now with our live Q&A. Awesome. So let's see what else we got come through. And just want to see everybody's popping on the stream here. And I know we do have some new people here as well. The way these video chats work is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour, answering questions and topics of discussion that you would like to cover related to fitness and nutrition, health and wellness, any specific challenges that you're dealing with when it comes to reaching your fitness and fat loss and muscle building goals. So feel free to type those questions or topics of discussion into our chat window. So again, it could be questions about your workouts, questions about your nutrition, any specific challenges when it comes to building muscle or losing fat. Feel free to type those into the chat window or into the comment section, wherever it happens to be. And I'll do the best I can to answer those questions as we move through our video chat here. All right. Let us get this going here. Good stuff. So, we have Frank joining in from Sweden. Welcome, Frank. We have Chris saying, finally, caught one. I'm assuming you must mean you caught me doing a live video chat, right? When you say that, finally caught one, sounds like you caught a fish. Loud and clear, Adrian. All right, gotcha. Oh, it's Adrian. Duh. I'm like, it's a dry-in. I was looking at it. It's Adrian. Okay. Hey, it's not always obvious, right? I mean, it's not to me anyway. I'm sure it is to you, but there we go. It's Adrian. It was a long day. Andy's joining in saying, is it okay to do a T-bar row non-supported and a barbell row on the same back day? You can do whatever you want. Like, I'll just break it down. Like, why do you want to do two different row variations like that back to back? I mean, usually when I do a workout, I usually try and pick one main exercise variation. So for example, when it comes to a row, I'm going to do one horizontal row move per workout, usually. Now, there's nothing wrong if you want to do more, but it's kind of like more of the same, because if you're doing a bent over barbell row and then you're doing a bent over T-bar row, it's pretty much the same movement pattern all over again. And why? That's what that's what I have to ask. Like, why are you doing that? Personally, what I would do is I would probably change it up and do different movement patterns on different days, or maybe go through a phase where you're cycling through, say, oh, for the next several weeks, I'm going to focus on barbell rows. And then when you start to work up and eventually hit a plateau with that, then, hey, okay, we can switch it up and try doing maybe a T-bar row, right? And get good at that exercise until that eventually hits a plateau. And then maybe you switch into another rowing variation. That's usually how I go about it. But, you can make an argument either way. Like if for some reason you just really like doing barbell rows and T-bar rows and it works for you, then who am I to argue, right? Keep doing it. If it's working and you enjoy it, you're making gains, by all means, go for it. But if you're just asking because you're curious and you just want to kind of like change up your workouts or whatever, I would probably be a bit more selective, and meaning that, okay, you're doing one row variation. That's enough. Let's do another exercise variation. Maybe like do an overhead pull, maybe do some sort of pull over, some other back exercises to hit different angles, different areas, right? That's what I like to do. And for me, when I'm doing a workout specifically geared for hypertrophy, one of the popular methods that I like to use is the positions of flexion style of training. So you take a fully stretched, or sorry, I got that mixed up, a mid-ranged compound exercise, which could be a barbell row, then a fully stretched exercise, which could be, say, like a pullover or something like that. And then you would do a peak contraction movement, probably some sort of pull down variation, something like that. I mean, that could be an example of a positions of flexion style of workout. And you're basically hitting mid-range, fully stretched, peak contraction. And this applies to all your major muscle groups. So you could do the same thing with training chest, right? Mid-range could be some sort of chest press / bench press. Peak or fully stretched could be your fly, like a dumbbell fly or something along those lines. And then a peak contraction could be like a pec deck or a cable crossover, right? So your mid-range, fully stretched, peak contraction, where you're hitting all the different ranges of motion. And as you're going through that, over time, you can vary it up, right? So you can change the angles, change the exercise variations. But I wouldn't personally just start repeating multiple exercises of the same movement pattern. Like I see that, especially in a chest workout, a lot of guys, well, I do barbell bench presses, and then I do dumbbell bench presses, and then I do a chest press machine. It's the same movement pattern over and over and over again. Like, why not just pick one, work that really hard, stimulate the muscles, and then do another movement pattern, work that really hard, stimulate the muscle pattern, and then do another one, instead of just this repetitive movements over and over again. So again, that's my 2 cents worth, but if you want to elaborate on it a bit more, yeah, feel free to. All right. JP is joining in. Says, I finished week 8 of the old school 12-week program this morning. How about now about to start some cardio? Good stuff. I mean, if you should have been doing cardio all along. Like, cardio should be a staple part of your workouts right from the get-go, not just after 8 weeks. But hey, better late than never. Go for it, right? I personally like to incorporate cardio along with the weight training as a staple year-round. So for me, it's usually alternating cardio one day and weight training the next. Or, I mean, there's different ways to going about it. Some people like to combine them in the same workout session, which is fine as well. But personally, that's the way I structure it. I do weight training one day, cardio the next, and I alternate them back and forth. And that's a great way to get the daily exercise and offer variety so that you're hitting different modes of exercise. You're getting the strength training, and then you're getting the cardio conditioning. And I find it's a great way to reap the health and benefits and to keep yourself progressing forward. We have AJ joining in. Says, sometimes I feel like I don't, but did I miss something there? Yeah, okay, this came through. Must have hit there. Sometimes I feel like I don't hit my rear delts hard enough. What would you rank as the best rear delt exercises that one should perform often? Rear delts, this is a neglected area for many people. And when I'm coaching people one-on-one, this is one area that we really prioritize, because rear delts, it's neglecting the rear delts is very often the root cause of a lot of shoulder pain and mobility issues, because everyone's doing a lot of stuff, pressing movements to the front, and just your day-to-day tasks involve a lot of front delts. The upper back rear delts, unless you're purposely doing exercise for it, they rarely get worked, and they're very often a neglected area, right? And you see a lot of times people have poor posture because those muscles are so weak and they tend to slouch forward, and it just creates an imbalance. So you want to prioritize them. I like to include them as part of my warm-up. Like one of my warm-up exercises that I'll do, kind of like do a rotator cuff and a general arm, shoulder mobility warm-up at the start. But one of the exercises I like to do, get a rubber resistance band, and just a light one. It doesn't have to be super heavy. And do band pull-aparts, where you grab the resistance band. I'll just move your question there so I can demonstrate it. You grab the resistance band and you literally do a band pull-apart with the resistance band. A great exercise to warm up the upper body, warm up the shoulders, and it really targets the rear delts. So that's one that I like to do, and it's a great one to. It's so simple, and if you have resistance bands, you can do it at home as well, but you'll get some heat in the shoulders very quickly with that one, right? Again, it's a great one to really isolate the rear delts. And you can do similar movements with the machines and the free weights and the cables at the gym as well. So if you can do the same thing with dumbbells, just bend over, do a bent over dumbbell fly for the rear delts. You could do a reverse pec deck fly, where you face the pec deck machine, and instead of bringing the handles together to flex the chest, you literally pull the handles apart to work the rear delts and upper back. So you sit on it in the reverse fashion. Cables, a lot of cable exercises you can do there. It's simulated. When I'm doing rear delts for cables, or cables for rear delts, I should say, when I'm doing that, I usually do them one at a time, so I can really isolate each side. And the thing that's nice about the cables, like you get up to the cable crossover station, set it up so that it's approximately neck height. That's where the cable would be. And I would hold the station, and I'd literally like extend the cable right across my whole upper body in that big arc-like fashion, and you get tension right from the start all the way across your body. So full range of motion when you're using a cable. Whereas if you're using free weights like dumbbells, sometimes you don't get the stretch aspect. Like the starting range of motion is very weak, but then when you extend the dumbbells out, you get peak contraction. Whereas with the cables, you get constant tension, full contraction throughout the entire range of motion. So those are some that I really like to do in my own workouts, and I also incorporate it when I'm coaching my students as well. So those would be some of the good ones for isolation. And then as far as more of a compound movement, face pulls or high rows, where you're rowing the weight high and wide, that will help to hit the upper back and rear delts as well. But again, it's one of those short, frequent workouts is what I would recommend for the rear delts. Like, nobody go in there and say, I'm having a rear delt day at the gym. Instead, I'd recommend like throwing in a little bit of rear delt frequently. So for me, I usually weight train 3 days a week, and I'll hit rear delts with each of those workouts, so that I'm getting a little bit of stimulation there for them frequently, right? Because it is a small muscle group, so shorter, frequent workouts tend to work the best. Who else we have? We have Chris is joining in. Yes. Yeah. We have Jason is joining. It says, hello. Many factors can cause overtraining, but the most I've heard from many fitness teachers, coaches, and trainers is training to failure is the main cause. Can it be true, or is it just a concept from the fitness industry? That's an interesting question. And overtraining it's a gray area, because there's a lot of things that we can factor into the overtraining bubble. All right. And it doesn't have to be training to failure. Like, simply doing more than your body can recover from can cause overtraining. So under eating can cause overtraining, because if you're not fueling and you're not recovering from your workouts because of poor nutrition habits, then the workouts you do will, you're not fully recovering from them. Thus, it will lead to overtraining. So overtraining is really under recovery. Like, think of it like that. It's like a balance, right? If you're adequately recovered, then you're not overtrained. If you're not recovering properly, then by default, you are overtrained, right? Like, it's a balancing act. And a lot of times we talk about overtraining, but it's not overtraining to its true sense, because there's different degrees of it. A lot of times in the fitness industry, people refer to overreaching as like the early phase of overtraining, right? It's like the pre-overtraining, if you will, right? It's overreaching where you're pushing the limits and you're starting to feel the effects because you're not allowing for adequate recovery, and then you're getting back in the gym training again, but you're not really dug yourself into a rut or dug yourself into a hole. Whereas if you continue on with that, you continue pushing your body more than it can recover, then you will dip into overtraining, and then that can be a setback, right? When you are truly overtraining, you're not making progress. You're just digging yourself into a rut, and then every workout is just digging that rut deeper. So you need to focus on the recovery, and you got to look at all things. It could be the nutrition, right? You need to make sure that you're getting adequate protein, you're getting adequate carbohydrates, adequate calories in general to fuel those workouts, and in the right nutrient ratios, like high nutrient dense food, not just simply eating empty calories, but nutrient dense food that are going to nourish you on the cellular level. You want to look at your sleep and lifestyle habits. Like a lot of guys, sleep is a neglected aspect, and people kind of wear lack of sleep as a badge of honor, thinking, well, I don't need a lot of sleep. I'm tough. I'll sleep when I'm dead and all this bullshit. No, you need sleep. Sleep is essential, right? Sleep is essential for health and wellness. And I was reading a book by Dr. Peter Attia, and he went into a whole section there. It's his new book, Outlive. Highly recommended. If you're looking for a book recommendation, Peter Attia, Outlive. But in there, he's got a whole section on sleep. And I love the phrase that he used there. He said, like, good quality sleep is like a performance enhancing drug. And it really is. Because when you are well rested and you like wake up in the morning after a good night of sleep and you're like, man, I'm rested, I'm energized, I feel good. It's like you're on performance enhancing drugs. Your body just functions at its best. Like everything is heightened. Your alertness is heightened. Your energy is heightened. Your strength and enthusiasm and everything is on, it's functioning at its peak. Whereas if you have a crappy night's sleep and you wake up and you're tired and exhausted and just dragging your heels, that's going to hinder everything. And of course that can lead to overtraining because you're under rested, you're under recovered, which in turn leads to overtraining. So it's not just, I'm getting back to Jason's question here because I know I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent talking about a bunch of stuff. It's not just training to failure, right? Like you can train to failure as long as you do so safely and you're smart about it and still get adequate recovery, right? So it's not just simply training to failure is the main cause. I would say it's all those other things that I mentioned, the nutrition and the sleep and the lifestyle habits and all that kind of stuff is a big one. And I think if you take care of those, your risk of overtraining goes way down. Now, with that being said, yeah, if you push yourself too hard in the gym and you don't allow adequate recovery between workouts, sure, that'll cause overtraining as well, even if you are well nourished and well slept and all that. So it's a lot of people try and pinpoint, say, it's this one cause, or try and have these cookie cutter one size fits all solutions when it rarely is. It's usually a combination of a lot of little things. I mean, sometimes it is the one big thing, but more often than not, it could be a lot of little things that could be improved and lead to a much better result overall, right? So again, it really depends on the individual and their situation versus just throwing out a cookie cutter. Everybody's overtraining because they train to failure. Like, no. All right, moving on. We have Jason joining in from Texas. He says, what are your thoughts on the carnivore diet when weightlifting? I'm not a fan of the carnivore diet. I'm a fan of eating animal protein because it's a very high nutrient food, great source of protein, vitamins and minerals, and a lot of B vitamins and iron, and there's a lot of health benefits to animal protein. So I'm not anti-animal protein, but I don't believe in it as the sole food that you eat. I'm a big fan of a well-balanced diet. And this, regardless if you're focusing on weightlifting or just health and wellness or any other sport or activity, I think a well-balanced diet is far superior than having these diets where you're eliminating food groups and thinking that that's the best. Out there, right? Protein, plant-based foods and vegetables, like carbs. When you even look at the macronutrients like protein, carbs, and fat, every one of them have benefits. There's a reason they're there. There's a reason why we consume them all. And a lot of people think, well, if I eliminate one of them, that's going to give me an edge. And then, like, how is that going to give you an edge? It's like going into a fight with one hand tied behind your back. Like, which hand do you want? Do you want your right hand or your left hand? Right? We're only going to go in with one. Like, how is that optimal going in with less than the full arsenal, if you will? Like, you're much better off having a diet that has protein, that has plant-based food, that has adequate protein, carbs, and fat, a well-balanced diet so that you're nourishing and covering all your bases versus trying to go in there and, hey, I'm not eating this particular food group. No, I'm not a fan of it at all. All right. And can it work? If it depends what your definition of work is. If it's like, can I lose weight with it? Sure, you can. As long as you consume a calorie deficit, you can lose weight with any type of diet, as long as you're consistently in a calorie deficit. But as far as a muscle building diet, and I'm assuming that's what you're referring to when you're saying when weightlifting, because if you're weightlifting, you're probably trying to gain muscle. You're at a severe disadvantage because carbohydrates, which come from plant-based foods, are your primary fuel source when weightlifting. Weightlifting is a high intensity sport. It's a high intensity activity. And when you're doing high intensity exercise, you're burning glycogen, which is stored carbohydrates in the muscles. And if you are depleted of glycogen, it's very hard to generate the same level of intensity when you're weightlifting. And it's very hard to have a muscle pump because you're low in glycogen, so your muscles are depleted. You're not going to have the same pump as when you're carved up, right? So I'm not a fan of it personally, right? So that's my opinion. You asked my thoughts on it, and there we go. This is something we literally did a whole week of teaching on this during our Lose Your Gut Challenge. So if you want, you head on over to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group, because the content is still there on the Facebook group if you want to follow along. I mean, you won't officially be part of the Lose Your Gut Challenge as it was live, but you can catch up on the replays. And we've got like daily video lessons breaking all this stuff down, and it's available there on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group if you want to go check it out. Saul is joining us saying, Lee, Dr. Peter Attia says in his book Outlive to do zone 2. It's supposed to be zone number 2, as in 1, 2, 3, but zone 2 training before strength workout. I don't agree. I think it's better to do it afterwards. What are your thoughts? It depends the context. If he's referring to, and it depends the context, and depends on the individual. All right, and your goals. All right, so that's a very blanket statement, and we have to look at it from an individual basis, not just hey, everybody should do it this way. I mean, first off, zone 2 cardio, which is basically the long duration, low intensity cardio. That's what most people refer to as low intensity, steady state cardio. That's zone 2, right? I mean, if you're an endurance athlete, some people are very specific with it. Like if you're a cyclist and you've got a power meter on your bike and you're monitoring your heart rate, I mean, you can actually calculate the exact heart rate zone you need to be in, or the exact power wattage zones you need to be in. But for the average person who's not tracking all their watts and heart rate and all that, low intensity, long duration, steady state cardio, right? The typical cardio that most bodybuilders do as a fat burning exercise, that is zone 2, right? To keep it simple. That is a very powerful form of cardio, and it certainly has a lot of health benefits. But as far as before or after the strength training workout, it depends. Like some people like to do it as a warm up prior to their strength training. And I do a little mini zone 2 workout prior to every strength training workout. I'll do about 10 minutes of zone 2 cardio as a general warm up, just to elevate my core temperature, get a light sweat going, get the joints, tendons, and ligaments moving. And especially in the wintertime, like, I mean, I'm in Canada in the middle of winter, so it's freaking cold outside. So if you go into the gym and your body's cold and the gym is cold, like, you need to warm up, right? You need to get everything limbered up and warmed up to prevent injury. So I love doing a mini little zone 2 cardio session for about 10 minutes prior to my weight training workout, just to kind of get me in the groove for training. And then I'll go do my weight training workout. And if I wanted to do extra cardio beyond that, I usually do it on an opposing day. As I mentioned earlier, I like to do weight training one day, cardio the next. But if I was going to do extra cardio on that same session, then yeah, I would probably do it after the weight training workout. Like when I'm pushing the envelope for maximum fat loss, like back in the day when I was competing in bodybuilding, for example, I would very often finish off my weight training workouts with an extra zone 2 cardio session, just as an extra fat burner, right, to help tap into burning some more stored body fat. And I would always do it after the weight training workout. So start off with a 10-minute warm-up, but then if I was going to go beyond that, I would do it after the workout. And the reason for that is, if you do a long cardio session prior to weight training, it can take away some of your strength and energy that you could potentially use for weight training. And then vice versa, you look at it from the other point of view. If you do weight training before your cardio, well, that's going to take away from your cardiovascular performance. So it's like 6 of one, half a dozen the other. Like, what's more important? Are you more interested in improving your cardiovascular fitness? And if you're an endurance athlete, yeah, you probably are. Or are you more interested in improving your muscle mass and your strength and hypertrophy, like a bodybuilding type of program? It's not one is right or wrong, good or bad. It's like, what's important for you, right? Because I know, like, a lot of people that I coach and work with, they are endurance athletes. You know, they're triathletes or cyclists or people who are primarily focused on endurance. So we tip the scales to maximize performance for endurance, not to maximize performance for building muscle. Now, I know from a bodybuilding point of view, it's the complete opposite. And again, it's not right, wrong, good or bad. It just depends on who are we talking to here. So maybe I'd have to refer to that exact example, because I've got the book and I've read it, but it's a meaty book. It's like 500 pages, so I can't remember the exact wording for that that phrase that you're referring to. But I'll have to go back and refer to the book to see exactly what context he was referring to when he recommended that. But hopefully my explanation makes sense, right? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, unpack the confusion and give you a bigger picture perspective of how this stuff makes sense in the real world. All right. Who else we got joining in? Alex. Not just any Alex, but we have Space Battleship Alex. Says, Lee, can someone go from a linear progress type programming to a double progression without having to lower the weight? For instance, right now I do. What do you do? I do 6 reps per set. Can I start doing 6 to 8 or 6 to 10? Can someone go from a linear progression type of programming to a double progression without having to lower the weight? That really depends on your individual strength. And I mean, try it. Like, will you be able to? So you're doing, let me go back to it here. For instance, right now I'm doing 6 reps per set. Can I start doing 6 to 8 or 6 to 10? If you can work up to doing 6 to 8 reps per set if you're currently doing 6 now, but will you have to lower the weight? It depends. Like, we're always trying to train in a progressive overload fashion. So ideally, if you're currently you did 6 reps with a given weight for an exercise today, strive to better that for your next workout, right? Like, if assuming you could do 6 reps with good form by yourself, no cheating, no swinging, no momentum, like it was a good solid 6 reps, then hey, for your next workout, try to do 7 reps. I mean, that's a great way to have progressive overload built in there, right? And then build it up. And when you're doing really low reps, I usually like to work within a rep range. So you can kind of do what you're doing there, like 6 to 8 or even 6 to 10. So in my situation, what I would probably do if I was doing this, I'd start off with a heavy set of 6, and then I'd try to build it up, use that same weight for 7 reps, use that same weight for 8 reps eventually, and then 9 reps, then build it up to 10. Once I got to 10, I'd probably increase the weight, drop the reps back down to 6, and start that progression over again. That's one way of having progressive overload. And it's a good way that works for a lot of different exercises, right? Especially some smaller exercises where it's harder to make frequent jumps in weight, like smaller movements, dumbbell exercises and isolation exercises. It's hard to make frequent jumps in weight because most jumps in weight go up by 5 or 10 pound increments, depending on what it is you're using. Like if you're using a weight stack at a machine, most weight stacks go up by 10 pounds per jump. That may be too big for a small isolation exercise. Or if you're using dumbbells, going up 5 pounds per dumbbell, which is 10 pounds total, that's probably too big of a jump to move up. So building up the repetitions allows you to still have that progressive overload. And then once you build up to a peak, say like in this case, 10 reps, increase the weight, the next heaviest set of dumbbells, for example, drop the reps back down to 6 and then start that progression back over again. I do that for a lot of exercises. And when I'm coaching people, a lot of times we'll do that as well, especially for the smaller exercises. For the bigger ones, like a leg press or a deadlift or a squat or big heavy exercise, you could probably get away with weight progression, especially if you're in the early phases of a training program. Like, it's very easy to add 5 pounds to a leg press, but it's very hard to add 5 pounds to a dumbbell curl. Like, there's a big difference between adding 5 pounds to a 500-pound leg press versus adding 5 pounds to a 25-pound dumbbell curl. Like, percentage-wise, it's huge. It's astronomically different. So that's why I will sometimes use that rep progression versus weight progression, especially on the smaller exercises. So again, I'm not sure if that's exactly what you were asking, but that was my deciphering of your question. So hopefully it helps. And it's Adrian says, it's been a year since I started going to the gym, started being weak lifting these 5 to 10 pounds, but now it's 2024. I'm lifting almost 50 pounds, but I noticed that I haven't been growing and it's slow. I don't know if there's anything else besides that. Some of my friends tell me the reason why I haven't been growing was also lack of eating. Even though I did gain strength, I still didn't grow muscles. I think that's... Oh, another one. In addition to my first question, 50-pound dumbbells, I've been deadlifting 200 pounds, but can I ask any ideas about me having bad rhythm of sleep as well, waking up in the middle of the night? Is there any more to this? Jesus, we got a novel here. I also do full body workouts, sometimes 2 times a week, sometimes 3 times a week. Do you think it's a good split for someone who's very busy with studying and studying accounting? If I can't go to the gym, I also do home workouts instead. Is there any more? All right. I think that came to the end of the novel. And I forgot what the first question was. I got to go back to the beginning. Jesus. All right. Let me break it down. I'm going to take this in bite-sized chunks and it's interspersed between everybody else's comments and questions. So it's all good, Adrian. I'm just messing with you. I mean, I appreciate you for jumping in and sharing and posting your questions. That's what makes these video chats happen. But it's a meaty one. I'll just say that. All right. So what was the first one again? Jesus. Okay, here it is. I think it's been a while since I started going to the gym, started being weak, lifting those 5 to 10 pounds. But now in 2024, I'm lifting 50s, but I noticed I haven't been growing. All right. You will notice strength gains before you see the physique gains, if you will, right? Like, you will get stronger before you get bigger. That's normal. And that's good. Like, a stronger muscle is a bigger muscle and vice versa, but you're going to see the strength gains happening before you start, having to buy new clothes because you're all swole and jacked and huge. That's normal. But rest assured, as you continue the journey, as you continue to get bigger and stronger, all right, as you continue to get stronger, you're going to get bigger. Your friends are probably right, because nutrition does correlate to this. And I mean, you didn't really go into detail about your nutrition habits, but you say your friends say lack of eating. So I don't know why. I mean, I'll throw out some general guidelines for nutrition. One, you want to make sure you're getting at least 1 gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight per day. So whatever you would like to weigh, have that in grams per day of protein. So for example, let's just say you want to weigh 175 pounds. Again, I don't know how big or tall or heavy you are. I'm just plucking this number from air. Let's just say your goal is to weigh 175. Eat 175 grams of protein per day. Use that as your baseline target to strive for. And that's probably a lot of protein, especially if you've never prioritized eating a high protein diet. That's going to be a bit of a challenge. So you're going to have to rearrange your food in such a way that you're making sure that you get that. You also want to focus on eating adequate carbohydrates to fuel those workouts and enough fats so that you're nourishing your body as well. Because all these things, protein, fats, carbs, like this is what we went into detail within the Lose Your Gut Challenge. I don't want to rehash it all here because we literally did a week of training, a week of daily training where there was probably an hour or more dedicated each day to each topic. All right. So there's a lot to unpack is what I'm saying. If you want, go sign up for the go sign up for the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. That's what I'm trying to say. Just find Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding on Facebook. It's a private group. Request to join. You can even send me a friend request on Facebook as well and say, hey, it's Adrian. I've been chatting to you on YouTube. Please accept my friend request. And then I can share those videos with you on the group. But I mean, we went into a deep dive into nutrition within that Lose Your Gut Challenge. And I want to clarify it as well. It's not just simply for people who want to lose their gut. It's for people who want to lose gut and build muscle, right? Because there's a lot of similarities. It's basically becoming the best version of yourself. Because I know when I call it the Lose Your Gut Challenge, I do so because, let's face it, most people these days are overweight and want to lose their gut. But we do have some guys, such as yourself, who are probably underweight. And you're looking at that and saying, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't have a gut. Well, you can still learn from the challenge, right? You can still learn all the nutrition concepts and the things that we covered will still apply for building muscle. Right? Anyway, that's what I would recommend if you need some help with your nutrition. Sign up for the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group, and you can check out the replays because all the video replays, the lessons that we were doing each day are posted there. What else was there? No, I'm going back to your all the questions. Your sleep issues. You say, I'm having bad rhythm of sleep as well, waking up in the middle of the night. That's something you need to address. And there's a lot of things that could be causing this. I mean, numerous things. I mean, first of all, what are you doing in the evening? Like, what is your routine? Are you being stimulated? Are you consuming caffeine later in the day? Are you using electronic devices, playing video games or things like that later in the day? This can all impact your sleep and throw off that, the circadian rhythm, right? So you're having a hard time falling asleep, but you definitely want to get that under control. And there's a lot of different strategies we can go into. But yeah, sleep is a big one. I mentioned it earlier when someone was asking about overtraining. A lot of times, if you're undersleeping, that could lead to overtraining or lack of muscle growth, right? Sleep is huge. like Dr. Peter Attia says, good sleep is like a performance enhancing drug. And I totally agree with him on that. So that's something you definitely need to get addressed. And what else was it? Full body workouts. There's nothing wrong with full body workouts. I'm doing full body workouts myself. Usually it's 3 times a week for me. And I think that is a great schedule for people who are really busy, because if you'd mentioned sometimes it's 2 times a week, sometimes it's 3. That's ideal, because let's just say it's only twice a week you get to the gym. Well, at least you're still hitting all your major muscle groups, right? So you're not neglecting anything. Whereas if you were doing a bodybuilding bro split, which is 1 muscle group per day, and you're only training twice a week, it's going to take you a month to hit all your muscle groups. But at least if you're doing total body, granted, it's not as much volume per workout, but you're not neglecting anything. You're still getting a little bit of stimulation for all your major muscle groups and doing so frequently. So in your situation, stick with those total body workouts. And like say, if you can't go to the gym, you do home workouts, that's fine, right? As long as you got a decent home gym, right? It doesn't matter if your muscles don't know where the stimulation comes from, right? If you're lifting a barbell at home or you're lifting a barbell at the gym, all they know is tension. So as long as you're getting in a good workout, it can be done from home and you can still be very productive. In fact, a lot of my coaching students train from home. Some of the guys who've made the best gains have been done so from home gyms, Yeah, so that's not going to be an issue right there. All right, what else we got there? I lost my place in their video chat. Okay, wait now. There we go. Steve's got a question. Here, I think I'm back on track. Good evening, Lee. I'm currently bulking, but for bulking in particular, what is the best time of day to bulk? Mornings or evenings? What? Am I missing something here? I'm bulking, But for bulking in particular, what's the best time of day to bulk? Morning or evening? A bulk, by definition, means you're in a caloric surplus and you're trying to gain muscular body weight. That's what most people refer to as a bulk. So it's an all-day thing. It's a multi-day thing, multi-week thing, probably even multi-month thing. It's not just a morning or night thing. So I'm not really sure on what you mean by the question. I'm kind of stumped because, like, if it's like I cut in the morning and then I bulk in the evening, right? Like, no, it doesn't work that way. Like, you're one or the other, right? You're averaging a caloric deficit, or you're averaging a caloric surplus, or a maintenance. Like, it's the long-term average. The day-to-day fluctuations that doesn't work. Like, you have to look at the long-term average. And in fact, to put this in better perspective, instead of just focusing on your daily caloric intake, focus on your weekly average. And this was actually a concept that we covered within our Lose Your Gut Challenge group as well. Covered this during our graduation workshop when we went into detail, talking about the idea of a weekly average versus getting hung up on the day-to-day caloric intake. Focus on what are you averaging per week. So in this case, like, bulking, like, do I bulk in the morning or in the evening? Like, no, you're either bulking or not, right? You're either in a caloric surplus or you're not. And it's an average caloric surplus over the long term. So it isn't a day-to-day fluctuation, right? Maybe I'm missing the question. I don't know. But if I am, feel free to elaborate more on it. Or if you want, you can private message me and we can chat about it. But I don't understand this, because you don't cut in the morning and bulk in the evening, or vice versa. It's a long-term thing that happens. You sustain that calorie intake over the long term. What else we got there? Andy says, thank you. You're welcome, Andy. Frank is joining us. Says, my weight training workouts can last 90 to 120 minutes, so an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I have heard that you should consume intra-workout nutrition when your workouts last that long. Is it true? And if it is, then what should you consume? It depends. And, depending on how hard you're training and what it is you're doing, if you're pushing the 2 hour mark, yeah, I think you could certainly get by with some intra-workout nutrition, right? Again, I don't know what type of workouts you're doing or what it is you're training for, but in my case, if I'm training long, I will have intra-workout nutrition. And one that I have, even if it's a short workout, I will have branch chain or essential amino acids, either or. Now, essential amino acids are actually better because they contain all the branch chain amino acids plus all the essential amino acids that your body needs. So I would recommend amino acid supplementation. And that's very easy. You can just go amino acid powder, mix it in with your water bottle, and consume that during your workouts. That will provide rapidly absorbing amino acids that your body can use while you're actually in the gym training. I take that regardless if I'm doing an hour-long training session or I'm doing longer. I always have the amino acids because it's rapidly absorbed, and not only is it absorbed and utilized during the workout itself, but then it's in your system for that post-workout recovery right after. So amino acids are huge. I would recommend 10 grams of essential amino acids mixed in a water bottle, sip it throughout your workout. For the longer workouts, especially you're pushing 2 hours or more, and if your goal is to gain muscular body weight, to get bigger and stronger, you could put some carbohydrate powder in there as well. And there's different types of carb powder. You could use like a maltodextrin. You could use, there's another one called Carbolin that I've used before, which is another complex carbohydrate, but it's fast absorbing complex carbohydrate. That will go a long way as well because it helps to provide a fast and easy absorbing carbohydrate that's easy on the stomach, not going to cause gas or bloating or anything like that. It's low in fiber, but it's basically complex carbs. So it's starchy carbohydrates that are fast absorbing. So it'll give you the energy you need, and it'll help provide the fuel to nourish you during your workouts. So it'll keep your energy level high, keep your blood sugar high, so that you can actually train hard. And you want that during the workout. Like, you don't want to be going through your workout and then the last hour getting into like a low blood sugar crash, and then your strength and energy starts to plummet because you're feeling low blood sugar, feeling tired and exhausted and hungry. Your strength and energy is just going to boom, 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 boom. So having some intra-workout nutrition will keep that energy levels high. And this becomes even more important when you get into really long training sessions. And I'm talking about like ultra endurance type stuff, for not necessarily ultra endurance, but endurance where it's into the multi hours, right? You know, I got to be careful with my definitions here because it all depends who you're talking to. Like some people refer to ultra endurance as in not just multi hours, but multi-day, like, you know, massive endurance events. But most people, like, endurance is marathon type training, something along those lines, or triathlon type training, you know, which it could be multi hours. The thing that sustains people through multi-hour training sessions is their intra-workout nutrition, right? You within our glycogen stores, and I'll just share this before I move on now. You store about enough energy for about 2 hours of high intensity exercise within your muscle and liver glycogen. 2 hours of like going all out. And then you're going to deplete your muscle and liver glycogen, and then you're going to bonk. That's what bonking refers to, is you run out of gas. You run out of glycogen. So your glycogen levels are depleted and your blood sugar levels crash. And now your strength and energy crashes as well, because you're forcing your body to start breaking down body fat and breaking down muscle tissue to try and fuel that workout from that point on. So you're very catabolic at that state, right? And having the intra-workout nutrition, you know, the amino acids, the fast absorbing carbohydrates, stuff like that will keep your glycogen levels topped up. So as you're burning them, you're also restoring them as well. So it'll help you to sustain your energy for much longer, and you have more strength and energy during those workouts. And another plus is then that fuel is in your system to help aid with the post-workout recovery process afterwards. Right? So it's not just the workout itself, but having that in you helps to get a jump start on the post-workout recovery. All right. Hopefully that helps. Who else we got joining in? Let's sit here. All right, we're 47 minutes in. I'm going to go. I'm literally going to keep it to an hour today because I actually have a coaching call with one of our Lose Your Gut Challenge members who went through the program. I have a one-on-one coaching call right after this, so I have to stick to my 1 hour schedule today. Josh is joining us. What are your thoughts on StrongLifts 5x5 as an intermediate lifter looking to get stronger and build muscle with only the big main compound lifts? 5x5 programs are great. There's a lot of different variations of 5x5s. I know the StrongLifts one is a very popular one, but yeah, it's certainly a good solid program. And if you are a true intermediate lifter, meaning you are at the phase where you're comfortable to do those compound barbell lifts with good form and train in that heavy low rep range, yeah, I think it's a great program. I mean, I've made a lot of solid gains doing similar programs, like different variations of 5x5. One that I used a lot back in the day was Bill Starr's 5x5 program. And the thing I liked about that is it had the progression programmed into it. Now, it didn't always work out perfect, but it was a darn good starting point, right? It was a darn good starting point to go by. And I know a lot of people made some amazing gains from that Bill Starr's 5x5 workout. The StrongLift one, again, a lot of people have used it. A lot of people have made great gains with it. It's a solid program for sure. You know, from a strength and hypertrophy point of view, absolutely. Yeah, you can make some great gains with simple programs that are done consistently and in a progressive overload fashion. I mean, sometimes when I look back at it, the best progress that I've made or that I can remember is when I've really done these basic workouts, just focusing on a few key exercises, but getting really good on those few key exercises and just hammering those suckers, right? Rather than trying to hit every muscle and every angle and every exercise variation and having this, you know, grand program with a gazillion different exercises. Sometimes you just pick a few select moves and just get really good on those few select moves, and you can make some amazing gains. I'm thinking some of the programs I did, like different types of power training programs. Like I remember I went through a phase where I literally just did squat, bench, and deadlift, and then a couple accessory exercises. And I did that for like several months. And every week, my goal was just to try and make some sort of progressive overload on those exercises. And I had it set up where I was doing very small progressive overload. So I was actually training in my home gym. I didn't have fractional weight plates at the time, but what I did is I got some small weights that I made up and had them like half-pound increments. What I did, for those of you who are training in a home gym and you want fractional weights, this was my strategy. I know it's not a scientific one, but it certainly worked. I bought a bunch of washers, like little round metal washers that you get at the hardware store. I bought a whole bag of them, and I weighed them out. So I had like half a pound of washers. And then what I did is I took just a piece of string, was a shoelace is what I had actually, tied those washers together, and then I just hooked it on the end of the barbell. So I had a half a pound weight. And then I did the same with the other side, and I made up a bunch of these. So what I would do is each week, my goal was to gain at least 1 pound on my bench, squat, and deadlift, right? Like, and train it up in a progressive overload fashion. So this was before the fractional weight plates became popular, because you can actually buy these small fractional weight plates and do it properly. If you go on Amazon or any place that sells fitness equipment, you should be able to find the fractional weight plates, which can probably be like quarter pound, half pound, 1 pound, 2 pound, whatever, like small pound increments. So you can make little jumps in weight instead of having to do the big 5 to 10 pound jumps like most gym plates do. So that was my strategy, is each week I just wanted to go up by, as long as I was going up by at least a pound, I was on the right track. And I did that for several months in a row, just squat, bench, deadlift, trying to get stronger with those exercises. And man, I made some crazy gains just focusing on those few basic exercises and trained them in a progressive overload fashion, right? Nothing fancy, did it from basement home gym, right? Just a power rack, barbell, and a bench, like just raw and rugged, but it freaking worked. It freaking worked. So yeah, you can sometimes make some amazing gains with basic programs that you just do consistently. What else we got? Baby Boomer Fitness joining in. What's a solid bicep circumference in inches for a natural man? This is a general guideline that I've heard people say is take the measurement of your wrist. If you have a tape measure, I don't have one here with me, but whatever your wrist measurement is, and I think add about 10 inches to it. That would be a respectable upper arm for most guys. Again, it's just a ballpark number, but that would be a respectable arm circumference. And then to have a well-balanced physique, a lot of times some of the, when people like to geek out on proportions, they always say your neck, your biceps, and your calves should be the same circumference. Right? Now, mine don't work out that way. My arms are way smaller than my neck and my calves. My calves are the biggest. My neck is the next, and my biceps are the smallest. So, all right. But it is what it is. But yeah, look for 10 inches bigger than your wrist circumference, and that would be a good ballpark to shoot for. All right. So if you got a 7-inch wrist, shoot for a 17-inch bicep. Right. If you're a big bugger and you got like an 8-inch wrist, well, you want an 18-inch bicep or whatever. That's a general guideline. And I know some people got massive wrists. Like I know one guy I used to go to school with, just big bone, like big ankles, big wrists, just big bones entirely. So I mean, if he actually trained and maximized his genetic potential, he'd probably have 20-inch guns. But yeah, that's the general rule of thumb. What else we got here, guys? Let's see. Take your morning affirmations seriously. Do you believe in karma? Okay. I actually do believe in karma. I do. All right. I think what goes around comes around eventually. It's not always a direct correlation, but I do. But anyway, I don't remember seeing you. So welcome to our video chat, Mr. Neuroshan Hewage. I know I'm butchering your name, but anyway, welcome. Richard saying, have you served in the military? The diet was the same for all. It was from memory a balanced diet. I've never served in the military. No, I've not. But yeah, I can only imagine the diet was the same. Everyone's eating in the mess hall. They eat the same food for all. Yeah, and it is a balanced diet. when you look at some of the principles they use in military training, like it's basic and it works, right? It's the thing that makes it work is it's drilled into you consistently. Like there's no obligation, or there's no, oh, I don't feel like it today. It's like, get the frig out there, right? You're you're going to go run this morning whether you feel like it or not. You're doing your push-ups today whether you feel like it or not. You're eating in the mess hall with everybody else whether you feel like it or not. So sometimes having that, you're forced into an environment and a lifestyle can help in a certain way. But the problem with that is when people are forced to do something and it's not done voluntarily or willingly, when they're out of that being forced to do it, very often they then backlash. It's almost like when parents are really strict with their kids and say, you have to do this and you have to do that, and they're strict. As soon as the kids are then on their own and in control of their own schedule, they're like, F you, mom and dad, I'm doing whatever the hell I want, right? And then they backlash in the other direction. And I've seen that a lot with people in the military. I mean, I'm not going to mention any names in that, but I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, like, oh, I used to be in awesome shape back when I was in the military, and now I'm overweight, I'm out of shape, I'm drinking, I'm smoking, sometimes doing drugs and eating. Went from fantastic shape to, a fat sack of what, right? Because they don't have that drill sergeant forcing them to get in shape. So, sometimes you have to develop these habits and have it so that you're doing these habits on your own, not having someone to force you to do it, right? That's a lot of stuff we covered in the whole Lose Your Gut challenge. We covered the whole idea of how you can build these habits without having to use that grit and willpower and suffer it out approach, right? There is a time to suffer it out, don't get me wrong, but nobody's going to suffer it out for the rest of their life. You have to have some sort of sustainable maintenance program in there where you can get in shape and stay in shape without someone cracking the whip all the time. All right, let's see what else we got there. Robert's joining in. Says, I've noticed at the gym, have heard from friends and coworkers that they won't do cardio for whatever reason. I do cardio for the health benefits. Do you agree with neglecting cardio? Hell no. People who neglect cardio, it's usually based out of laziness. That's what it is. It's usually based out of laziness, because everywhere, like if you start doing any amount of research on the topic, there is so many health benefits to cardio. I mean, even if you don't want to be an endurance athlete, even if you don't want to lose weight, like let's assume you're just a naturally skinny person and weight's not an issue, and you just want to be big and strong and muscular, there's still benefits to cardio even in that sense, right? It'll improve your stamina, it'll improve your recovery, it'll help improve your heart health. I mean, improve so many markers, improves your mitochondria efficiency. Like there's so many benefits to cardio. People should be doing at least 3 cardio sessions per week, 3 zone 2 cardio sessions per week as a minimum, right? Just to reap the health benefits, if nothing else. And I mean, that's one thing that pisses me off too, is like you see a lot of fitness gurus and coaches, they tell people what they want to hear, not what they need to hear. So they'll say, oh, with our program, you can get in shape and lose fat without any boring cardio. And they always try and make it sound bad. Like, oh, cardio is boring. You don't want to do cardio. It's all yucky and boring. Cardio is not boring. Like, it depends what you're doing. I mean, you can get outside and go hiking in nature. Or you can get outside and go bike riding, or there's so much that you can do that counts as quote unquote cardio. That's a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm on my hamster wheels running in circles. Like, no, it doesn't have to be that. Like that can be boring cardio. I totally get it. But cardio can be an adventure, right? Like for people who always, oh, I don't like cardio because it's boring. You just haven't found the right one. I mean, I can make that argument for weight training. I mean, like weight training can be pretty damn boring too. Oh, I'm in the squat rack going up and down with the same weight, right? Up and down in the squat rack. Oh yeah, woohoo, right? Like that's just as exciting stimulation wise, mentally stimulating, as spinning your wheels in a hamster wheel. like running on a treadmill or moving up and down a squat rack. Like, mentally stimulating, you're still looking at the wall. It's pretty boring from that point of view. So, people who try to say weight training is somehow exciting and cardio is boring, it's just personal perspective on that. Right? I personally love cardio, right? I mean, if if ideally, I mean, you do weight training and you do cardio because there's benefits to both. But if I was pressed, like someone had a gun to my head and say, okay, you have to do one or the other, right? You either have to do weight training for the rest of your life or you got to do cardio for the rest of your life. You only get to choose one. I would choose cardio because it's so much more fun and there's so much more stuff that you can do with cardio. Like I can get out on my bike ride and go off on a massive adventure, right? And I can have fun with it. Whereas weight training, I'm stuck in a sweaty, stinky gym sometimes. Right. Now, I'm not saying the gym is sweaty and stinky. I mean, but you know what I'm getting at, right? The cardio could be an adventure. It could be a lot of fun. Anyway, where are we? I'm going to get ready to conclude up because we actually just crossed the hour mark there, and I do have to get ready. I have a call coming up very shortly, and there's still a shit ton of questions coming through. All right, but I tell you what, guys, if I didn't get to your question, which I know I didn't because there's literally a lot more questions here that I did not address, I'll give you permission to send me an email if you would like to have your question answered. You can reach out to me. I have my information down below in the video description. Feel free to drop me an email. Or if we're friends on Facebook, feel free to drop me a message on Facebook. And if you have a question that you would like me to address that I haven't addressed here during our video chat, reach out and we can have a chat through email or messenger. And in the meantime, I'm going to get ready and conclude up because I have to go jump on a coaching call with one of my students. And I'll look forward to chatting with you same time, same place next week. So next Friday, live at 5, going to have another Q&A. Make sure to tune in for that and have yourself a fantastic weekend. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Over and out. End the broadcast.